Welcome back to Balance Banter. I'm your host, Kristie Langle, functional nutrition practitioner, exercise physiologist, and founder of the Balance app. So many of you know my story, my healing journey, my battle with chronic illness, and a major part of that journey was mold illness or mold colonization, a previous exposure to mold that was keeping me sick for a very long time. And those of you out there who might already be in the quote unquote mold world, you know that healing from mold is not simple by any means, physiologically removing the mold from your body, but the hardest part of the mold journey, I think personally, making sure your home is safe from the mold, because if you are not living in a safe, clean environment, no matter what you're doing with your body to detox, to heal, it's likely not going to be successful if you're constantly being exposed. And one of the hardest parts of making sure you're not being exposed is finding it, because often it is not visible. You don't see it at all. So that is why I'm so excited to have Cory here from ProShine Professional Cleaning. Welcome, Cory. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm excited to be here.
Tell us a little bit about ProShine and what you guys do.
Yeah, so we specialize, obviously, in the home service world of HVAC cleaning and ductwork repair. A big caveat of that is making sure that when we're doing our inspections, we're checking for any kind of bacterial growth that obviously here in the Lowcountry can grow inside the ductwork due to condensation or improper cleaning or seal issues in the ductwork. So many different things that can happen. So we actually go about a full and holistic approach in making sure that we're cleaning the systems properly. And also, we're the only company in the area that offers a 2-year warranty on our cleaning process, which I'm sure we'll go into a little bit more later on. But yeah, so we're the only company that does that, and it's super exciting that we're able to offer that after our service is completed.
Awesome. So we're going to dive into the nitty gritty of all of the mold in your home, mold in your HVAC, all the things. First, quick, give us a little background. How did you get into this?
Yeah, so I was actually a kitchen manager for 10 years, and I was in hospitality, and I worked for a corporate chain for a long time. I ran a $7.5 million a year restaurant at the age of 21, which definitely taught me a lot of good things in growing my business and helping other people. And essentially, when I stepped away from that, we went into doing a lot of stuff overnight and doing kitchen deep cleaning. And after working 90 hours a week for someone, I was like, wow, I was like, if I can work 90 hours a week for someone, I can do it for myself.
For sure.
So when I was not doing that at night, I found a job that was doing air duct cleaning over in New York. And I worked for the company that, I mean, when I tell you they were doing absolutely nothing correctly, where it was like everything that you typically see, where it's like burn and turn, like they go in, they take everything they can get and they leave, and you never hear from them ever again, which is very unfortunately typical in our service that we offer. Where I broke off from that and I wanted to change that. I wanted to make a difference, and I saw that there was potential to make that difference, but there's a lot of people that weren't doing the quality work that was needed to make that difference for people.
Right. And you're definitely just like I like to consider myself a healer and like a people person. I feel like I was born to change lives. I feel like you're very much in
In
that
alignment to that.
space.
Yeah, absolutely.
In that space.
And like I said, it's like, you meet so many different people, different walks of life. And, like I said, in a situation where you have people that are struggling in their home, they are unfamiliar of what's going on. They're just like, I've tried everything and I don't know where it's coming from. That's where we come in. We do a full inspection. We check stuff that isn't even ductwork related, just because we want to give peace of mind, which myself or my team that are doing those inspections is very crucial.
Yeah, you're out here changing lives too. Okay, so let's dive into all the mold, the HVAC ducts, all that kind of stuff. So when physically.
Mhm.
I have people coming to me, right, who believe they might be exposed to mold and having physical symptoms. So one of the first signs and symptoms physically that someone might be living in mold is getting chronic like illness, like upper respiratory
Yep.
infections, bronchitis. I know that's how it started for me when I was
Mhm.
actually living in the mold. Every single month I was on antibiotics and prednisone because I
Yep.
just couldn't breathe. The snot wouldn't stop, the sneezing, the coughing, and it was always when I got home from work, like later in
Yep.
the so it was when I got home from the day. But so from your experience in the home
Mhm.
aspect of it, what are some of the biggest signs in the home that someone might be dealing with
Yep.
contamination, even just extra dust?
Yep.
Sometimes it's not even just mold, it's like just particles in general,
Yeah.
just too much buildup. But what are some of the signs
Yep.
in the home that someone might be dealing with
Yeah,
this?
I mean, whether it's the home or even like the office, like so like you always have to look at like where someone will spend the most amount of time.
Mhm.
Obviously if I'm not putting in my hours at work, I'm typically home.
Mhm.
So it's one of those things when you start to correlate, obviously if you're smelling like a musty smell or like a mildewy smell, especially like if you get into the office, like you're there first in the office, you might be there when the system is just kicking on for the day and you might initially smell it. Um, that is one of the biggest signs that we hear, or a lot of the phone calls that we get is like, I have a musty smell in my house. I'll be outside with my family all day. Everything's great. But then when I get home, I smell like a musty smell when my system turns on.
Mhm.
That is one of the biggest things that will tell me that there's something going on.
Okay.
And that could be, like I said, where it could be in the unit already, or it could be an air seal issue where it's pulling air into the system from your attic, which obviously most of the attics around here,
Mhm.
they're not in great condition for the most part. So
It's hot up there.
hot. So you got especially here in the low country, you got attics that go into the summer months 165 degrees. I used to keep a therm on my bag that I had to get rid of because it was like more of a mental thing
Yeah.
of like, oh my god, I'm roasting, I need to get out of here. So, but yeah, definitely the mildew smell is a big one, or there's visible signs. So,
Okay.
like if you look at your vents and you see particles of bacterial growth that are starting to form,
Mhm.
that's really important to kind of look at that and see what's going on.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I will say a lot of people will be like, I have like some stuff like around my vent.
Yep.
It's not like black mold or
Yep.
anything like
Hmm.
that. Like that's typically what people think, right? That mold
Immediately.
has to be
Black is
black.
just a color. That's
Right.
right.
It's
That's
just a
right.
color. But they'll notice some sort of growth. And sometimes it's just inside the vents
Yep.
too, as well. But any sort of like
Yep.
overgrowth,
Yep.
so to say, not just black, right?
Whenever we do our education, right? So we look at the three components, right? You need a dark, cool space.
Hmm.
You need something that's going to be acting as a food source, which dust and debris becomes that food source,
Hmm.
because it's dead skin cells, it's pet dander, it's all those things that all get cycled from the house, going through the house, through the unit, etc., and blowing back into the house. And then lastly, some kind of moisture. So condensation, anything that can form from the coils, from the air handler, etc., or like I said, those air leaks. When you have
Yep.
55-degree air meeting 165-degree air, you're going to get that dew point, and then all of a sudden you're going to have some growth starting to form.
Yeah, I actually had somebody that I worked with where she was in a brand new home, and
Yep.
we all suspect, right, that
It's brand new. There's
it's
no
brand
problems.
new. There can be no mold,
Yep.
right? But what she later found out was that the builder, none of the what is the to correct me
Yep.
the fans, what is the exhaust fans,
Yeah,
right, the
exhaust fans. Yep.
exhaust fans in all of her bathrooms, none of them had the damper
Yep.
on them, which the damper, right, is
Yep.
what seals
Seals it off.
it off. So just mold was breeding in
Yep.
all because the cool air from inside the house
Mhm.
was meeting the hot air from
Yep.
outside in all of her bathroom vents, and all of her bathroom vents were filled with mold.
And the biggest thing, we work with a lot of builders in the area. So that post-construction dust,
That too,
this is
yeah.
so pivotal. And any of our builders and anyone that knows about, this doing remodels or anything like that, they know they can cover, they can tape that return the best they can. The best way to not have dust go through that system is to have the system off.
Mm,
But in the area that we live in, it's almost impossible during the summer months.
yeah, 'cause it's
Getting the
just so hot.
trades in, doing the building process, doing sanding, doing cutting, doing any of that trim work, anything that creates that dust Again, if that system's running, it's going right into the system, which can cause HVAC problems down the line from impacted coils. But like I said, really just contaminates the unit, and any kind of moisture that then goes into that, that's all it takes.
Yeah. All right, so we're talking a lot about Lowcountry area because that's where we are, and it's a huge problem here, and I think that's one of the reasons we're doing this, right? To get the word out about the fast builds and the errors and things that are happening. Yeah, everyone, there's so many people that are sick from all of this, and one of the main drivers, especially here in this area, is the humidity. Not necessarily the heat, but the humidity. I mean, they double whammy each other, right? But in the Lowcountry, the humidity that we experience throughout those hotter months, and our climate just in general, can you explain to everybody why that makes our HVAC system here more prone to mold?
Yep. A lot of times, so heat and humidity, they rise, right? So especially if you have a 2-story house, the returns are going to be pulling in that hot, humid air, which typically the units that are on the second floor, if there's a unit upstairs and a unit downstairs, or even if it's a unit that functions through the whole house, that when that air has a chance to then be pulled into the system, that hot, humid air, like I said, you're just expecting and putting in all that moisture right into the system. So when we're not keeping the thermostats at a proper temperature in the summer months, and I know that a lot of people will probably ask, well, what's the proper temperature? If you come to my house at 7 o'clock, it's going to be 68. So I know that's not for everyone, but I'm an addict all summer long. So for me, like, that's what I do.
Time to cool down.
All my friends, like, they know to bring sweatshirts when they come over. That's just what it is. But for the most part, when we have a situation where you're putting in, where your thermostat is at 78 in the summer months, you're doing yourself a disjustice, because a lot of times when that does kick on, when it gets to 79, 80, at that point, it's going to take about an hour and a half to get at least to cool down the house, depending on how the system and how the house is set up. And when you have that hot, humid air going into the ductwork, and again, has never been cleaned before, a lot of times we go to people's homes that it's never been cleaned at all.
Ever. I mean, it's not to cut you off, but you and I are both from New York. I will say, like, I didn't even know duct cleaning was a thing, but because up in New York, humidity level in the summer is not really that much of an issue, so I don't think it's as big of a thing. But down here now, I've learned if you have allergies, they say every 2 years you should clean them. If you are just a normal person, maybe 5. But like myself, our home had gone 10 years without being cleaned. Every single one of my clients that comes to me, nobody's had their ducts cleaned. They're like, oh yeah, I don't know.
I've heard about it.
I've heard
about Facebook's fan, in a community chat. And that's, like I said, like what we have to disarm a lot of these people with, where it's like, that's where they have these walls put up, and like they just expect this process to be, like I said, it's a scam. And I will tell you, especially, like I said, people that are struggling in their home, we do free inspections, which is very, very important because of how in-depth our inspections are. But it's because we go from a holistic approach of seeing, is it insulation issues that are causing condensation? Is the unit where ductwork is separated? We see a lot of pest damage where there's rodent damage that they're chewing into the ductwork and they're using the ductwork as a runway or a highway. Like, we do a lot and deal with a lot of different things, and every home is different. And until we can really get in there and see exactly what's going on and make our recommendation, that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. Going back to the humidity thing, so like this is a humidity reader. It was very inexpensive. I didn't know about them. I didn't have one myself. I went to Walmart when I learned about it, and I got one, and that was when we started going down the rabbit hole of fixing our home and such. But tell people a little bit about like humidity levels in the home. Like you were talking about 78 being not a good temperature. That's a temperature, right? But what kind of humidity levels are ideal to minimize mold growth in the home?
Yeah. Anything over 65%, it's too high. I would say if you can
That's even really high for me. I say 45.
Yeah,
50 is max.
Right. 50 is max. I would say if you can get in the 40s, you're great.
Yep.
And like I said, a lot of people think that they also need some kind of dehumidifier or something to achieve that. So like I said, sometimes it's just running the system a little bit more frequently.
Yeah, because your AC is kind of a dehumidifier
as well.
Yes.
Exactly. And a lot of people they think that it's just like an extra thing. I either have it or I don't. Sometimes, like I said, like depending on how your system A lot, especially today's age, everything you can set on your phone.
Mhm.
So like for me, like I know when I'm driving home, my thermostat's dropping at first, so when I walk in the door. But yeah, it's one of those things that like it's so easy to control. If you can get it down to that 45, even like I said, that 40 to 50, you're like perfect, and it's like that will help limit the potential for bacterial growth. Now, obviously, like I said, because there's so many other things that can lead to that extra growth in the ductwork or in the home in general, it just depends.
Yeah, I never thought about the whole rodent thing. If they're making holes in there, then there's
Man,
obviously humidity sinking in and out and
big time,
creating a massive problem.
big
And then it's
time.
only going to spread.
Yep.
And even if it's just in that one section, when your system kicks on, though, it's blowing into the whole house. So it could just
Exactly.
be a tiny little piece of your duct,
Yep.
but it's blowing in all of your rooms,
Yep, yep,
essentially.
yep. For example, we had a job over in Sun City where a client had severe rodent issues, and where unfortunately there was no salvaging the ductwork, and you'd be shocked where you see the surprise on some of these clients' faces when you go and you tell them like you're there for cleaning, and you say, "I'm so sorry, like it's past cleaning."
Yeah.
Most companies will just try to clean it. But that's not what we do, because when we know that it's not going to make a difference, we just educate at that point and say, like, here are our recommendations.
Hmm. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so everybody's listening to us right now
Yep.
and their brain is spinning. If they're not already on
Yeah.
the mold train, like
Yep.
within their life, they suspect mold and whatnot. If they are chronically getting sick and they walk
Mhm.
into their house and they smell
Headaches. Yep.
mold, so talk to us about what someone should do if they suspect mold in their system. Like, what's obviously they're going to call
Yep.
you if you're local,
Yep.
but what are some other things, like we talked, even we jumped in onto the
Hmm.
moisture meter. What's a couple things that somebody could do or try
Yep.
or call or that kind of thing?
Yeah. The first thing, you have your choice, is if it's something that you think that is like say in the ductwork or in the unit. I typically would just to like go into like a mold specialist or someone that can come out and do if you think it's somewhere in the house. But for the most part, like with what we do, a lot of times people can't open up the units because they're not licensed to do so. So like if you have direct reason to believe that it's in the HVAC system, call someone that is a professional in their trade, which is typically, like I said, there's certain people that you would recommend. Like, for example, myself, I would go in and I would do an inspection on your HVAC unit totally for free. If you're thinking that there might be a toilet leak or a shower bed leak, then it would be more of a mold specialist if you think that you have something that's going on in that realm.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even too, they could, like we talked about the vents and things like that.
Yep.
That's kind of a simple thing. You could even
Yep.
just take the 3 screws out of
Yep.
your bathroom vents, peek
Hmm.
in there, $15 moisture meter,
Yep. Yep.
and if you've got 67% in your
Yes.
house,
Yes.
like
That's
now
a
it's
good.
time to
Yep.
call. Now
Absolutely.
it's time to call, right? Like, oh, Corey, yes, please come find out if there's mold because I have a humidity issue in here for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, right now, we're doing about 150 inspections a month.
Wow.
So like we're very busy and we're trying to
Yeah.
get to everyone in a timely fashion because no one wants to wait 3, 4, 5 days when they think that it's like, no, like I need someone here tomorrow or like tonight even.
Yeah, typically a lot of the people who are likely making the phone call to you are dealing with something already.
They've
What?
been dealing with it.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is like
and they're
their final
done.
straw.
Yeah.
Calling someone. Yeah.
I mean, that's how it was when
Yeah,
I
yeah,
called you.
yeah.
I think I spent an hour on the phone with your
Yep.
wife, Nicole, and I explained how desperate we were and how
Yep.
sick I was, and you guys were there the next day, which was amazing. And you've grown so much because of you truly
Yep.
believe in what you do and helping people, which is great. So share with us how ProShine's process is a little bit different,
Mhm.
and if they aren't local, what should people look for in a company?
Yeah, that's a good
And maybe
question.
even what should they be careful of? Well,
Yeah.
you and I, before we got on here, were talking about a little
Yeah.
nightmare story that you experienced. Like, share that with everybody because that's real world
Yeah.
experience
Doesn't get more real than that. Yeah.
that you need to watch out for.
Yeah. So let's start with why ProShine is different. So the thing that we do is there's an inspection that gets completed. Whether you call us, we can give you worst case scenario pricing over the phone, which most companies will want to come out and check it. We come from a place of trust, honesty, integrity, quality of work, things that we do very well. But when we do our inspection, like I said, we're going to check the ductwork, we're going to check insulation levels. We have an 18-point inspection, which if you look at it, which will pop up and we'll put it on, we'll blow it up for them. We'll include also a lot of things that are not on just the HVAC system for cleaning. And the reason why we do that is because, like I said, we go in with a holistic approach to, if you have a problem or you or a client or someone has a problem, they want it solved. They don't want to call 30 other people. It's like, hey, I can't find it. They want it. They want it solved. So what we do is once our inspection is complete, we take photos, we take videos. We deal with a lot of elderly as well. I actually have a GoPro that I attach on my hat, and I can actually live stream the estimate so they can see exactly what I'm doing. They can sit in the comfort of their living room and they can see everything, which is really cool. But we do air leaking tests. We do everything to see what's happening and what's contributing to the growth that's going inside the system. And then once our cleaning process is on the way, we come in, we clean the system, we clean all the ductwork, we clean and or replace the registers, which is the vent covers. And like I said, we just do a holistic approach. A lot of companies will stop at just ductwork. Like I said before, they don't have the availability to open up the air handler, clean the mechanical systems that are in there, the coils, the blower motors, take the blower motor, clean every blade by hand. Once everything is done at that point, we put you under a 2-year warranty. Now, everyone's like, what is that 2-year warranty? We come out every 6 months, okay? So the chemicals is a hospital grade disinfectant. The active ingredients are all natural chemical. It's thyme oil that helps fight against bacterial growth. So it binds to the ductwork, so it protects it for longevity. We come out every 6 months to do another 18-point inspection. If we find anything at all in that 6 months, we do it again for free. And every 6 months, so 4 different visits over the course of 2 years. If we find anything in that 2-year time frame, we take it all for free. We clean it again, whatever, and make sure that the client is taken care of. And then basic cleaning is every 2 to 3 years, depending on obviously so many different factors in the house, like, pets, all this stuff.
Yeah.
So
I loved one point that to our audience. My audience is very sensitive. So that was a fear of mine that I talked out with Nicole, was what are you going to use to clean this system? Because then are these chemicals going to be blowing out, and am I going to feel even worse because I'm sensitive to the chemicals? So I did very well with the time based cleaner and all that. So I love that you guys are, you say a holistic approach, but really are taking a very holistic
Well, we
approach to it.
try to take in consideration, like I said, the people that are obviously going to be suffering from different things. Allergies are a big one too. Whether it's a mold allergy or it could be like a pet dander, or it could be, like I said, there are some cleaning chemicals that people are just allergic to and they can't have in the home. So those are very important to make sure that we're doing our process, getting the best outcome, which is also why we come back every 6 months. It's included with our program because, again, we want to make sure once it gets cleaned, it stays clean for longer.
Yeah, for sure. So what should you obviously have the best program and opportunity and all the things? Not everybody is going to be local to the Lowcountry. What should some people look for when they're trying to find a company to do this sort of cleaning if they're not local? And what should everyone watch out for?
Yeah, big time. So the first thing, if you're not local to Lowcountry, using a trusted and professional vendor is very crucial. Ask the questions. If you don't know the questions, there's plenty of forums and things that you can research of like questions to ask these companies. See if they can offer recommendations of people that they have serviced already, to see if there's anyone that they can get some actual personal recommendations from, and just ask around your friend group. Likelihood that maybe one person that has had it done at some point, that can help you and direct you a little bit. A lot of the times, like I said, when you have these companies that are just kind of going in, making a mess, they're disturbing the ecosystem that's in there, and the time they leave, they make it worse. Depending on the ductwork, depending on the quality, how old it is, etc., it can cause damage. And that's the one big fear that everyone has. Is your cleaning process going to cause damage? Having the proper equipment, special nylon brushes, making sure that you control the RPMs on the machine for scrubbing. It's all important. It's all, asking those questions to these people to make sure that you're getting the best outcome, hopefully, for you and for your family. And then lastly, there are some horror stories, right? Everyone's seen those Facebook scams and people that's like, I got to fill my truck up by the end of the weekend, call here, and you see they have one friend on Facebook and they just joined the count yesterday. But we actually had a situation last holiday season where we did a full cleaning for one of our clients. We went in there, we did the inspection, we did all the things. And once we were done with our cleaning, she was very happy. Like everything was great. We were tidy. We cleaned up. We vacuumed. We did all the things. We got a call back about a week later. She was very upset, and she's like, "I want my money back." And we had our HVAC company come out, and we are not happy. They said that we still need cleaning, and you guys were just here a week ago, and they were very upset. So I was like, "Hey, I hear what you're saying. Let me come out there and see exactly what's going on." Obviously, when we're done, we send over a full report. So pictures, videos, everything. So when I got there, and I was, having her explain to me like what they had said to her, so they showed me and sent me photos of what my ductwork looks like. I was like, okay, can I see those? And as I see them, there's, for our HVAC guys out there, there's typically 3 different kinds of liner inside flex duct, which is like this accordion style ductwork. It's either pink, it's black, or it's brown. And all of her ductwork was pink, the inside liner. And the photos that they had sent her were black. So when I got there, and I was like, that's interesting. So I compared my report to their photos. And I said, and I immediately knew what was the issue. I was like, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do another inspection, see if I can find anything. And when I got up into the ductwork, it was all spotless according to my file that I had sent. And I was like, do me a favor. It's like, can I borrow your phone? She's like, sure. Take her phone. And I took photos on every single vent as she followed me through the house. And I was like, here's what's going on. The company that had came in that showed her these black liner ductwork, it was from another house. So
terrible.
When you have something like that, where I was like, hey, so here's the file that was sent. Here's the photos from your phone that I took. And so you see the comparison? And it's like, these are the photos they sent. And she's like, oh my goodness. And then
almost got duped.
Yep. And especially with the holiday season, not everyone, but there are some HVAC companies where their guys are commission based.
Yep.
So again, they were probably saw that the ductwork was clean, but they wanted to make a little extra money for themselves. So they were pushing the cleaning. And unfortunately, they got caught.
Yeah.
They got caught this time.
Such a shame.
So always be careful.
Yeah. Just really, I think that I love the fact that you mentioned before that you wear the GoPro. So like they could see it, because that never truly crossed my mind. They go up there and they say they take pictures and then they show you the pictures.
Exactly.
And you just trust that that's your house that they're showing you. But how the heck would I know? I'm not crawling around in the ducts up there.
And it's been so great because a lot of, like I said, our elderly clients too, like I have people that want to come up with me and I was like, yeah, come on. Like,
come on.
if you like, I'm a bigger guy, but if you can get up there too, let's do it. Then I can teach you while I'm doing it, which is great. But when you have a situation where they're incapable of doing that, to be able to sit down a iPad for them to look at and just stream it right to the iPad so they can see. And it's like, again, I can, go over voice wise of like, hey, I'm explaining this is what this is what this does. I have a whole video, again, we record these just for our inspections. And obviously when we give quotes and stuff of that nature, we can show exactly where it was. It's all time stamped and dated. So it's really important.
Yeah. Trust is something that you're building with all of your clientele for sure. And I think that is the biggest thing that is missing in the healing world of mold, especially with doctors, with physicians, and with mold inspectors, HVAC, duct cleaning, all of the things. Like it's kind of the wild, wild west right now. Mold illness is like not even considered an actual diagnosis at this point. They've come up with this term chronic inflammatory response syndrome, but it's a very broad term. But to this day, like mold in conventional medicine is not considered a thing. So it's the wild, wild west of how to get yourself well. But then it's also, as you can hear from Cory's story, it's the wild, wild west to try to get your house well.
Well, and I think the biggest thing too is like, that commission piece too. Obviously, like all of our technicians are all salary. They're all salary employees. So they have no reason to sell you something that you don't need.
Right.
And we kind of have a saying on our team, if we go to a house and they would invite you for coffee the next morning, you didn't do your job.
Which is funny because when your technicians were at my house, we sat and had coffee
Yeah,
together.
and it was funny because they took a photo that you're having, they're having like almost breakfast with you. So
Yeah.
but they're like, this is the best job ever.
Well, yeah, we had lunch, we had
Yeah.
espresso. It was a nice time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is great. So informational. I think everybody out there has a lot of tangible things that they can, dive into, questions to ask, things to look for, that kind of stuff. So as we wrap up here, Cory and I are super excited. We've got a little teaser here for you. We both pride our businesses on the idea that knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
I firmly believe the more you know, the more you can advocate for yourself and help yourself get well. And Cory, same thing. The more you understand about
Know about your home. Yep.
your HVAC, how it works, all the things, the cleaner you can keep it, etc. And there's likely so many people here in the Lowcountry that are struggling with mold illness or exposure, and they
Absolutely.
really have no idea at all that this is affecting them. So we're excited to collaborate on a little Instagram giveaway here in the month of December. And I wouldn't really say little because this is
Yes.
probably
Pretty significant.
this is a big
Yeah.
giveaway here in the month of December. So we plan to give away some of our biggest services in the month of December. Cory, tell them what you guys are planning to give away.
Yeah, so we're actually giving away a full ductwork cleaning. All of our from a basic cleaning, remediation package with a 2-year warranty, and then also the cleaning of the components of all the air handler and everything in the HVAC system. So we're going to be giving that away for December and for you.
Yeah, that's huge. That is huge. And he's taking care of your home, and I'm gonna take care of you with a full year membership to the Balance app. So if you're struggling with symptoms and staying well and chronic flares and things like that, we'll take care of you for an entire year with that membership, as well as a complimentary initial consultation personally with me, so we can dive into any blood work that you have, symptoms that might be occurring, and we can get to the bottom of if this is truly an issue for you, and we can start getting you well. And being that your home will be clean, I will be able to help you finally be well. So make sure to follow our Instagram accounts. I will link our Instagram accounts in the show notes here. So click those, give them a follow, and stay tuned in the next couple of weeks for that major giveaway. Like I said, we'll probably never ever do this again. This is a major giveaway, so make sure to get involved. All right. So Cory, before we leave everybody, let's leave them with one practical tip that they can do in the next week before they make a phone call, before they have you come crawling around their attic or anything like that. What's one tip that or something they can do pretty quickly that can improve their indoor air quality right now?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, again, I do like the purifiers that you can have the standalone in the house. Those are a great source for at least scrubbing the air that you're gonna say a living room, for example, where you spend a lot of time, bedroom, etc. Those are good. Just making sure you take the plastic off the actual filter when they come in, because I've seen that too, where people are like,
no.
this never works, and then I'm like, well, plastic's still on
It'll
here.
work now. Oh,
So there are some good models out there. So we definitely look into the reviews on those. But yeah, just for air quality, just to kind of like very basic, if before you obviously dive into the whole house cleaning or inspections and all the stuff, that might be a good help. Again, or even getting your blood work done. That's a big one. Like seeing what's affecting you. Obviously, I've worked with you as well. And of getting my blood work done, seeing where obviously I'm efficient in and also deficient in.
Yeah.
So that's really important.
And you're doing really well. You look fantastic.
Yeah.
You look healthy as a horse. I love it. If I could add one caveat to the air purifier, I would say financially, not everybody can always afford those right away. So if you can afford one,
Yep.
and put it in your bedroom. Right next to your head.
Yeah.
So everyone, that's where you're going to spend the most of your time in a day is sleeping, or a good chunk of your time. I shouldn't say the most of your time, but
I was like, people sleep?
yeah. Maybe not enough, right? But yes, if you can afford one air purifier and you want to know where to put it, I want you to put it in your bedroom, so at least while you're sleeping with clean air.
Yep.
So, Cory, thank you so much for being
Thanks for
here.
having me.
I'm excited to collaborate on this giveaway next month. And thank you all again for joining me on Balance Banter. Until next time, we'll see you soon. Bye.